Hello, everybody. Welcome to a quick snap. It's been a little while since we've done a quick snap. I am Sinvicta. I pinged a couple people to see if they wanted to do a run tonight, and nobody responded. But obviously, we have big breaking news in the NFL. A couple of hours ago, the NFL has announced that they have reached a decision on what they are going to do for the Bengals-Bills game in regards to the cancellation of it. Essentially, what happened, as everyone knows, with the injury to Hamlin, I'm sure that the guys talked about it on the podcast today. Well, that was released today anyway. That obviously the game was postponed up until today, where we learned just now, again, about just under 2 hours ago, that the NFL will not be playing or resuming the game that was postponed from Week 17 for Buffalo and for Cincinnati. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to read the press announcement, followed by some scenarios that are very interesting and have a lot of implications behind them regarding the playoffs for the AFC. So we'll wait for a tick or two here and let everyone kind of rolling on in. And again, sorry I was not present for this week's podcast. I had something that I had to attend to, so I was just not able to go. So I do apologize for my absence. But if you are listening to this on the VODs or if you're watching this here live, make sure you click the like button. It is the best way to support the podcast as well as grow the channels. And thank you all very much for all of the support. I really appreciate it, and so do the guys as well. So here we go. I'm going to read the list here. This was the press release by the NFL and Roger Goodell submitting it less than 2 hours ago, talking about what the decision is going to be for Week 17, as well as just what's going to happen with potential scenarios. So I'm going to read this word for word, and I will be dropping a link in the description as well to let everybody know where you can go read this for yourself, or seriously just go to NFL.com. That's literally where I'm going to be getting this from. So I'm going to read it word for word, give you my thoughts on it, and then wrap it up. Here we go on the quick snap. So the NFL announced today that the Week 17 Buffalo Bills at Cincinnati Bengals game will not be resumed and has been canceled. Commissioner Roger Goodell has informed all clubs of his decision earlier today, yada, yada, yada. Goodell said, "This has been a very difficult week. We continue to focus on the recovery of Hamlin and are encouraged by the improvements in his condition, as well as the tremendous outpouring of support and care for and his family from across the country. We are also incredibly appreciative of the amazing work of the medical personnel and commend each and every one of them." So, among some key factors in arriving at this decision, the first factor was not playing the Buffalo-Cincinnati game to its conclusion will have no effect which clubs qualify for the postseason. No club would qualify for the postseason. No club would be eliminated based on the outcome of the game. This is essentially just saying the game wasn't necessarily meaningless. There were obviously seed implications to it, but it's almost a non sequitur decision of what the outcome would be, because like the thing is that each of these teams are going to the playoffs regardless of this game, is basically what this comes down to. So it's not a meaningless game, but it's kind of a meaningless game. It makes it easier to kind of write off and basically postpone or even just flat out cancel, which is obviously what they ultimately decide to do. Factor number two, as Goodell mentions, it would require postponing the start of the playoffs for 1 week, thereby affecting all 14 clubs that qualify for postseason play. That is also true, of course. You don't want to push the entire league because of one game, even though with the significance of the injury and just everything else that has transpired since then, it would still be like moving mountains in a way. So hopefully, it could not have been an easy decision for anybody to say, well, should we push it a week? Should we let the Bills and Bengals flip a coin for it? That sort of thing. I think ultimately canceling it was the right call, but we'll keep on going here. So that was point number two. Point number three that Goodell mentions, making the decision prior to Week 18 is consistent with our competitive principles and enables all clubs to know the playoff possibilities prior to playing the final weekend of regular season's games. This again is just trying to bookend all of the playoff scenarios and essentially just give everyone a clear path to victory as far as them getting into the postseason, or if their seasons are meaningless, maybe they want to stop someone else from getting the playoffs. This basically will stop them from speculating, and it gives a very clear roadmap. So with a ton of possibilities, obviously this is going to be far-reaching as we keep on going towards Week 18, going into the weekend. And normally we wouldn't be doing a quick snap regarding this, but obviously there's no Thursday night games anymore, so this is basically what we have in store for that. So, continuing reading from the press release from Roger Goodell, canceling the game between the Bills and Bengals creates potential competitive inequities in certain playoff scenarios. In an effort to mitigate those inequities, NFL clubs will consider tomorrow in a special league meeting a resolution recommended by the commissioner and approved today by the competitive committee, consisting of two elements. And these are the elements along with the scenarios that you see in the titles as follows. Element number 1, the AFC Championship will be played at a neutral site if the participating teams played an unequal number of games and both could have been the number 1 seed and hosted the game had all AFC clubs played a full 17-game regular season. Those circumstances involve Buffalo or Cincinnati qualifying for the game as a road team and are listed below. And then they give you 3 scenarios based on if it was possible for either one of these teams to be considered for the number 1 seed. Scenario number 1, Buffalo and Kansas City win or both tie. A Buffalo versus Kansas City championship game would be at a neutral site. Scenario number 2, Buffalo and Kansas City both lose and Baltimore wins or ties. A Buffalo versus Kansas City championship game would be at a neutral site. Again, this is talking about an uneven amount of games played for the host city, essentially. Scenario number 3, Buffalo and Kansas City both lose and Cincinnati wins. A Buffalo or Cincinnati versus Kansas City championship game would be at a neutral site. So those are the 3 possible scenarios for a neutral site to be determined to play for the championship game, essentially. So the second element, going back to what Goodell was talking about in the circumstances in regards of what was approved by the competition committee. The second element was if Baltimore defeats Cincinnati in Week 18, it will have defeated Cincinnati, a divisional opponent, twice, but will not be able to host a playoff game because Cincinnati will have a higher winning percentage for a 16-game schedule than Baltimore will for a 17-game schedule. Essentially, again, the lack of the game essentially just never existing would give obviously beneficial odds and the win percentage to the team that didn't play as much as the other one did. So if Baltimore defeats Cincinnati and if those two clubs are scheduled to play in a wild card game against one another, the site for that game would be determined by a coin toss. If Cincinnati wins the Week 18 game, or if Baltimore and Cincinnati are not scheduled to play one another in the wild card round, the game sites will be determined by the regular scheduling process. And then Goodell keeps on going and says, as we consider the football schedule, our principles have been to limit disruption across the league and minimize competitive inequities. I recognize that there is no perfect solution. The proposal we are asking for the ownerships to consider, however, addresses the most significant potential equitable issues created by the difficult but necessary decision to not play the game under these extraordinary circumstances, end quote, Roger Goodell. So basically, to break it down here, the NFL has, for those of you who are just tuning in, the NFL has essentially canceled the game. So the Bengals and Buffalo Bill game for Week 17 will not happen, period, end of story. So they did not want to have to try to force the game to happen for a multitude of reasons, obvious and not so obvious reasons. The main biggest one, other than being, a little pretty much insensitive to what the situation isn't going down, and with the worldwide attention of the Damar Hamlin injury, but also because they would have to essentially be moving mountains to push forward 14 clubs from the postseason and make them wait another week before finally getting going, just based off of one game, having to be played. And essentially the one game having to be played is totally meaningless in a sort of roundabout way. It's meaningless because neither one of these teams would be knocked out of the playoffs. It's meaningless because neither of these teams are gatekeeping the other team getting into the playoffs. But it is meaningful because it determines the number 1 seed and also the home field advantage throughout the playoffs. So it is a big game, but it's not a big game, if that makes sense. And again, I really don't even want to try to speculate how much of a headache it was for the NFL commissioner and the competitive committee to try to work out a solution for this. This is just basically it is a cluster in all the wrong ways. But I do think that this is the best outcome. Obviously, playing the game. Playing the game was just not going to happen. Period. Point blank. There's no way that they could have gotten the players to agree to it, the coaches to agree with it. There's just no way. I mean, period. There's just no way that they were going to be able to get this game to go. But what I do think is important is that at least the NFL recognized that there had to be some kind of final solution, and it had to be definitive in terms of what the possible scenarios are, where are they going to go, and how is it going to be determined. So it does kind of suck a little bit for Baltimore or Cincinnati to be determined by a coin flip in terms of who would be hosting the games. But I think that that's better than a potential neutral site if it comes down to it. So, you're not going to be able to please everybody. That is really just that's just the way it's going to work. There has to be some give and some get in any sort of compromise. I do think that this is basically the best way that they could have done this. Given again what Goodell said, the extraordinary circumstances surrounding the cancellation of this game. And yes, the coin flip is only one scenario. That's not to clarify. And again, you can go back or just read the article for yourself. I'll make sure I'll put it in the description here on YouTube. Read it for yourself. It's only one scenario in a possible 3 scenarios of 2 different elements. So there's really 6 scenarios that could happen in regards to what's going to happen in the AFC. So again, I encourage you all to read it for yourself. And just to offer my opinion on it, I think that this is the best thing that the NFL could have done. I do think that given how difficult of a situation it is to try to, you're not going to be able to please everybody, but I think that we can categorically say that there was no way that this game was going to take place ever. And as far as Damar Hamlin goes, it's great to hear that he is awake. I believe that it was reported that the first thing he said when his eyes opened was, "Did we win the game?" So it's really great to hear that he is making this miraculous recovery after such a freak accident of an injury. And and we definitely wish him well and wish him all the best, and congratulations as well as on the huge success and massive amounts of outpouring towards his charity that was happening on GoFundMe. I believe the last time I looked, it's over like $6 or $7 million. So it really is incredible how everyone has sort of rallied around this. And I do think that given the fact that it was on Monday night, it's gotten even more attention like that. So it's really, really cool and awesome to see the NFL football fan community, as well as just a worldwide outpouring of humanity for Damar Hamlin and his foundation, and it's really good. So I do think that yeah. And just to be clear, he wrote the question down. He wasn't speaking because he had a tube down his throat. But that was the first thing he asked was, did we win the game? So again, it's a really encouraging sign and awesome to hear that he's improving. And I do think that the NFL I think they got this one right, for as much as much heat as they do take on, and it's usually some self-inflicted wounds as well. I think that this was a scenario that everyone can pretty much agree was going to be the end result of everything that happened. And I think the commissioner and the competitive committee decided on a solution that works out. Maybe not the best for every party involved, but they cannot delay the playoffs for another week. It's not fair to the 14 other teams that made it. It's not fair to the coaches, players. You also have to talk about scheduling for like airlines and like player accommodations, all this stuff. It's a logistical nightmare to have to go through. So that is going to be it for this Quick Snap special here, everyone. Again, check out the article down below, and I do think that there's going to be a lot more discussion as we keep on going also into the postseason for this very unique season for a different reason here with a Week 18, and obviously with the way that everything has ended. So let me know your thoughts and comments down below in the comment section as well. If you enjoy these quick snaps and also enjoy the podcast, make sure you click the like button. I really appreciate it. And one final time, I apologize for not being there. I was absent this week on the podcast. I had life stuff to take care of. So just couldn't make it. But that is going to do it for me. My name is Invicta. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, everyone. Make sure you click the like button, leave a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts on the NFL's decision. And again, if you want to read the full article, check it out in the video description box here on YouTube. As always, we'll see you all next time. Ba-na-na.